Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Saturday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. You know it. It's 3:30 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, first thing I want to say, do not fear, do not worry. I'm still doing plenty of political videos. The last couple days, I don't think I've done too much in the political video side, and I'm going to do plenty more. It's just a lot of stories have popped up, especially on TMZ, that I can relate to. That I have stuff that I want to share with you guys that I think might be of relevance to people that watch my channel. And today is another one of those times. I was looking through TMZ. It's just one of the about half dozen platforms, one of the channels I look through to see what's going on in the news. And I came across a story, the link will be right down below, that Alec Baldwin had a hip replacement. And they have a picture of him in New York City, the first time he's been seen since his hip replacement. And he's got a cane. And then there's his Instagram post where he talks about the hip replacement and watching movies and stuff like that. And I watched his Instagram. That'll be the first link right down below. His Instagram post from right after his hip replacement. And there's things that that don't ring true for me. You know, I know people have different experiences, you know, with operations and recovery, but the stuff he's saying I didn't experience. I'm not calling him a liar. I'm just saying that we had different experiences. But it also reminded me, all of a sudden I started thinking, I was like, geez, I had my hip replacement in June. And I looked and I realized that it's exactly the anniversary of my hip replacement is this week. I think it's the 12th. In a day or two, it's going to be 3 years since I had my hip replacement. All right, so I started thinking back to when I had my hip replacement, and I have a confession to make. I have not told another living soul about this. I talk about being in recovery and being clean and sober and all that, and I still make some pretty big mistakes. This doesn't have to do with drugs or alcohol, but it's got to do with nicotine. And I've never told another living soul this, and it's something extremely stupid. And I'm going to confess it for the first time today. It's when I was having during my hospital stay, my hip replacement. One of the stupidest things I ever did, and I recommend nobody else do. Okay, let me start at the very beginning here. Alec Baldwin. Now he has this Instagram post where he's talking about his hip replacement just in the last week, and he talks about pain, a lot of pain, recovering from the hip replacement. Pain, he says. And he talks a little bit about that, and that was not my experience. Before I had my hip replacement, the pain was freaking horrific. It was bone on bone. I remember seeing the x-rays. I wish I had the x-rays right here to show you guys. It was actually bone on bone, and I think I did a video on this. As a matter of fact, I was still working out a little bit doing curls, and I would bend over, and I could actually hear with each curl when I was bent over, I could hear my femur rubbing against my head. I could hear the bones click against each other every time I moved. I think I did a video on this where you could actually hear it in the video, the bones clicking. That's how bad it was. That was horrific pain. But here's the thing. Alec Baldwin talks about, I have to wonder, is he going for sympathy here? I don't know. Some people recover. Granted, I think I'm in a lot better shape. I'm not bragging here, but I think I'm in a lot better shape. And the doctor talked to me about that too. I had a nurse coming into my home right after the hip replacement, and she said that I recovered faster than anybody else she ever had. Granted, I'm kind of an exercise fanatic. I've kind of transferred my addiction from drugs and alcohol to exercise. I exercise like 4 hours a day. And even when they took the x-rays and stuff, they were surprised how fit I was. Like I said, I'm not bragging here. But he talks about pain, and after I had the operation, there was a discomfort. I was terrified. I got to admit it. 3 years ago, I was absolutely terrified going in for this operation, because I went in for a meeting along with other people that were going to undergo the operation. We met in the hospital like a week before, and they went over everything. What you're supposed to do before, what you're supposed to do after, and everything. And they actually had like the model of what they were going to put into my hip. and they talked about what they were going to do. And they talked about how they were going to actually cut off the top of the femur, the top that sits in the hip, And the more I thought about that, that was just scaring the hell out of me, that they were going to, it's a big cut too. It's right. I still have a big scar about this long on my hip, and I started picturing this, that they're going to cut me open. They're going to cut off the top of the biggest bone in my body, and then they're going to, this is the part that really scared me. That they then put the metal rod, they pound it down into the femur. They seat it into where they cut off the top of the femur, and they seat the metal rod in there. And I just started getting all these horrific, my imagination just ran, and I started picturing the bone splintering, and oh my God, what if I actually thought this. I'm a little embarrassed, but it's like, oh my God, what if something goes wrong and I wake up and my leg's gone, or I know it sounds stupid, but you think crazy things when you're scared. I was very scared. They had me up and walking, and the pain. Now, see, Alec Baldwin, I don't know if he's going for sympathy here, because I had almost no pain. They had me up and walking hours after the operation. Right after I woke up, they had me up and walking around, which that scared the hell out of me too. But there was virtually no pain. And of course, being an addict, I've always been completely upfront. This is part of the reason I think I've succeeded, is whenever I go to see a doctor, any hospital, any professional, medical professional, one of the first things I tell them is I am a recovering addict. I do not take painkillers. I do not take opiates. Now, for this operation, I had no choice, of course, to sedate me and to get through the operation. They had to give me, I think it was morphine and quite a few other heavy duty drugs. I'm going to talk about that more in a second too, because Alec Baldwin's experience doesn't ring true with my experience. And so the pain, I don't get what he's saying, because the pain was gone. I was so happy when I woke up. Now, again, it could be because we're in different shape or different experiences, but I have to wonder if he's just going for the sympathy here. He's pain, he says. And even when we met before the operation, with the doctor, he said, your pain will be gone when you wake up. Or you'll still be you'll experience discomfort. So I'm kind of questioning Alec Baldwin here. Okay, another thing he says the painkillers he got. Now this reminds me of the actual most layman, not addicts like me, when they talk about painkillers. He talks about the painkillers they gave him, and he says, "Man, I haven't been so high since 1977 or something like that." And well, it might be because I'm a recovering addict. They gave me a lot of heavy duty stuff to get through the operation, and they only gave me, because I'm an addict, they only gave me 10 Oxycontins to take home, and I only took 6 of them, like one every 6 hours when I first got home. I don't think, or maybe it was only 5. I had 2 or 3 left, and my mom ended up keeping them. And that's the thing. I didn't feel any kind of high whatsoever from the Oxycontins. They didn't even affect me. Now that could have to do with, I don't think I still have tolerance. That's the whole thing. I started thinking about this, and it's when I watched this clip, I'm not calling him a liar, but when I watched this clip, it seems like he was saying things that he thinks he's supposed to say. I'm still in a lot of pain, and I got so freaking high from the pills they gave me. And I swear to God, when I watched that, both of those things I did not experience whatsoever. And not only, people have different experiences, but those are the two things that, sympathy, and it seems like kind of cool, or, it just seems like the stereotypical thing somebody would say when they're given a painkiller. Man, I was so high. I have been that high. Even if they weren't, I think people sometimes, I don't know, being an addict, I have a totally different experience with this, because most people, honestly, I hate to say this, but back when I was using, I've been higher than, I know what high is. and I didn't experience Alec Baldwin. His experience doesn't ring true for me. Okay, now we're going to get to the, I've done some stupid things in my life. Besides for making a fake body deodorant commercial that I made yesterday. We won't talk about that right now, though. I've done some stupid things, and I didn't start smoking until I was 35 years old. Nobody believes this. I did not start smoking cigarettes until I was 35 years old. One day I was sitting around and we were using, and I was kind of jonesing, as they say, and we were waiting for some more stuff. And there was a half cigarette in the ashtray. And this is the thing with addiction. The Jones I was feeling was so bad. I was like, hey, you get a head rush from cigarettes, right? And so I smoked that butt for the first time in my life. When I was 35, I smoked a butt out of the ashtray because I was jonesing from withdrawals from other drugs, and I just wanted to get a head rush. And that became a habit. And within a month or two, I was actually buying a pack of cigarettes every day. And for about, I think it was about 3 or 4 years, till I was clean and sober at 40 years old or a little after. I was smoking a pack a day. I did not start smoking until I was 35 years old. That's not the admission, though. This is the part. When I went in for the hip replacement, I brought my little bag with me, and I stopped smoking, and I switched to vaping, and that was the last time I ever smoked. And I would only vape. I wasn't big into vaping. I quit smoking when I was 40 years old, and I only used the vape when I was nervous, like social situations. And I brought a little disposable vape. It has like 200 hits on it. It's like a $10 little vape, disposable vape. And there was one I brought with me into the hospital, and it was in the back of my head because I always carried one in this, like when I went on vacation and stuff. And I brought it. I knew it was in there when I went into the hospital for my hip replacement. All right. So the night after, right after my hip replacement, I'm in the hospital. I'm all hooked up to the IVs, and they're giving me the medication, the pain medication, everything. All of a sudden, I've never told anybody this, I remembered the little vape, the little disposable vape in this bag. And I'm all hooked. I just had the operation. They took me for one walk around the hallway, like fresh scar and everything, just hours since the operation. And I remember the little vape in there. And what do? Yes, I think they even gave me a little grabby thing, because I couldn't, like, it's a little extension that it's got a handle and you use it to grab things. And it was next to my bed, and I used that to reach over on the chair. This is like in the middle of the night, like at 2 a.m. In between, I was worried the nurse was going to come in and check on me, because they were coming in to check on me every couple hours. And I grabbed this with my little grabby thing, and I brought it over and put it on my chest, and I pulled out the vape. I was like, I was going to smoke the vape in the hospital, the little disposable vape. This was just 3 years ago. And what happens? I dropped it. And it fell on the opposite side of my bed. The railings are all up. I just had a complete hip replacement. I've only just barely walked. I'm all hooked up to IVs, the bags here, the things are all in my arms and everything. I'm all hooked up to computers. And the little disposable vape falls on the floor. And I am panicking now, because I think, oh my God, it's going to be so embarrassing. I can't let them find this. I can't tell them, or should I just leave it there? And they're going to find it. They're going to figure this out. And I did the stupidest thing. Yep. I put the railing down. And I just was fresh from the operation. This goes to show that the pain wasn't all that bad at this point. And I got up and I pulled the IV. I had to bring the IV around the whole bed to this side of the bed. I pulled the railing down, and I've never told anybody this. This was one of the most dangerous, stupid things I ever did, because there'd be 2 nurses walking with me the first time I walked, right after the hours after the operation. And it's the middle of the night, and I'm getting out of the bed by myself with the IV all hooked up, just so I could go around to the other side of the bed and pick up this vape that I shouldn't have had in the hospital. And, and I made my way around the bed. And I'm thinking the nurse is going to walk in any time, and she's going to find me, walking around the room right after a hip replacement, dragging my IV with me. And the hardest part was trying to bend over, because I tried to use the grabby thing to pick it up, the grab handle, but the vape is so small laying on the floor, the little handles couldn't grab it. So it's the middle of the night, fresh hip replacement, and I'm trying to pick up a vape on the floor of my hospital room. And I extended my leg behind me, because I couldn't bend over at that point. And I actually managed to pick it up with my hand, and make my way back over, get back into bed, put my IV back, put the railing back up. Yeah, one of the stupidest things I've ever done. And I've never told another living soul. That was just 3 years ago, this Tuesday. I think it's this Tuesday or Wednesday. It'll be 3 years. One of the stupidest things I've ever done. Okay, so the clip down below, like I said, Alec Baldwin's experience and mine, it sounds to me like he's just saying things that he thinks he should say. Oh, it hurts so bad, and I got so high from the painkillers. Because I didn't experience that. I didn't experience that at all. When I took the painkiller, the Oxycontins, I didn't feel anything. It felt like aspirin to me. And I shouldn't have a tolerance still, I don't think, so... I think he's just saying, or maybe they give movie stars extra drugs, or I don't know how both things could be true. That he was so high, but yet he still felt the pain. I think Alec Baldwin is exaggerating a bit. You guys have a good Saturday.